All right, guys. It is Thanksgiving Day 2023. I get a lot of questions on my machine here, especially on the Facebook groups. One group for the machine, John Deere series machines, 90s, 60s, 125s. This is a 24A, which is basically a 125 industrial version of a 125. Pretty good machine. I gave $3,500 for this machine last year from a buddy of mine that come up with it. He's a wheeler dealer. Ended up getting it from him for $3,500, and it's been a almost perfect machine. I mean, it's a little small for some of the stuff I do, but not terrible. I use it, and I let my brother use it quite often. Actually, he's had it all summer, so I just got it back probably 3 weeks ago. Anyway, it's got the Isuzu C190 engine. It's a pretty common engine. This engine was actually used in reefer units. It was also used in the Chevy Love pickup back in the 80s. There was a Chevette that had the 1.8 version. And then there was an Isuzu iMark. I owned, I think it was an 80 or 81 Isuzu iMark. It's actually a Citation chassis, but it was made a little different, I believe. Anyway, it had the small version of this too. When I got the machine, it was kind of dirty and whatnot, and used and abused, and I cleaned it up, painted it, welded on some hooks for tie downs in the back. It does run low oil pressure, so I keep thick oil in it. And it doesn't always like to start in the wintertime when it's cold. So yes, it does get ether started. I do have another engine sitting in the shed back there. It's a Nissan SD22, but I may just pull this one out and rebuild it. The rebuild kits are $500, $600, whatever. So anyway, the main question I get was, how did I set up my attachment? And that's what I'm going to explain to you. So me and the brother, I've actually owned this backhoe attachment for probably 8 years, and it never got used until earlier this year. It was $300 on Marketplace. It's a Bradco. It's a Bradco unit. It's been used and abused, but it works. It does its job. The only thing I don't like about it is how wide this is. You can't really put on too narrow of a bucket. I do have another bucket that I'm going to cut down to the width of this, but anyway, it does its job. We dug a 5-foot deep hole big enough to bury a horse earlier this year in like 45 minutes in Missouri hardpan. And our dirt here, basically where I'm at, is pretty hard, especially in the middle of summer. We've done quite a bit of work to it. Zip tied all the hoses and stuff. They were just thrown everywhere. These are chain menders, I guess that's what you call them. Chain links that you basically put in a chain, and you peen the edge over as it comes through this hole, and it mends your chain. Not really great, but they do work. Anyway, those work great for holding hoses. I do have a hydraulic cylinder leaking I need to fix. That's why I brought it back. So me and the brother went through and made some hoses. This pin was having issues, so I made that on the lathe. I can't remember what was wrong with it. I think it was worn through pretty bad or something. Anyway, I fixed it, put it in there. It didn't come with outriggers. All it has is these eyelets right here on top and bottom, So we welded it to this. The plate is 1/4 inch. As you can see, I should have went with a 3/8 plate because we ended up having problems where it was trying to split. Actually, it's still split right there. We were having problems with this plate flexing pretty hard, so we went in and added more gussets. So we added a diverter valve, selector valve, and what that does is transfers from the valve body of the machine to the outriggers. Now these outriggers, I got those off of Marketplace, I think last year. Kind of had it in my head that they were going to be used for this. I got 5 of them actually. And I figured 2 of them was going to be used for this, and then I was going to use 2 more probably to lift containers with. I was going to use the hydraulics of this machine to lift my containers because I need to move my containers once I get my shop built. So anyway, I found these, and I believe they come off of a motorhome, large motorhome. They were leveling legs for the motorhome is what I believe they were. Like I said, 150 for 5 of them. That was a steal. So we set up all the hoses, set up the selector valve. We've got a joystick. I had that on hand. I wouldn't have done that other than the fact I had that on hand. I would have done the regular 2 levers, but one goes one way, moves one leg, this way moves the other leg. It is what it is, no big deal. Like I said, we replaced a bunch of hoses, tidied up hoses, zip tied. There's a few more hoses that need to be replaced, but they're still working, they're still doing their job. Again, we did a bunch of welding, a bunch of gusseting. It needs paint. So when we got it on the machine, it's pretty heavy for this machine. It'll actually, if you're moving it around too fast, you'll stand the machine on its nose. So when we were using it, it was kind of a hurry situation because one of the horses had died, so we had to bury the horse. So we brought it over here and started testing it, and then we realized that the plate was flexing too much. I should have went with a 3/8 plate. It is what it is. That's what's on it. This is an Amazon plate. I think it was like 140. I think the 3/8 plates are like 170 right now. So anyway, we realized that there was too much flex. So I went and got tractor. These are the side links to take the sway out of your 3-point hitch on a tractor. So most of you'll know. But anyway, that one there hooks up to here. We put that on, and it actually goes all the way to the other side. Picture of that. So it's connected across the arm of the boom. And then we've got the lower ones. Those are actually the 3-point adjusters, and they come up to here. So that locks the arm from doing anything crazy. And it really stabilizes the machine to the skid steer. You don't really have a bunch of flexing on the plate. These quick connects, quick detaches were just Amazon ordered stuff. We just kind of went to town cutting and welding, and there still needs to be some cleaning and trimming and, you know, making it look better. They're all right. I mean, I'm not writing home to mom about them. You know, they do their job, but it is what it is when you're dealing with cheap Amazon China stuff. So anyway, hoses. We ended up making hoses, run them up through the boom, down through the back, all the way down, and up to the front of the machine. So this machine did not have auxiliary hydraulics, and that's where I ran into problems. So give me a second. I'm going to back the machine up, raise the arm up, and I'll show you what I had to do. All right, so what we ended up having to do is we called hydraulic shops and just did our own head scratching, and was trying to figure out how to add auxiliary hydraulics to this machine. So, talking to a couple of the hydraulic engineers at different shops and whatnot, they told us that you shouldn't run a second valve on the return of your main valve for your machine. They said the return, if you pressurize it, it pressurizes the spool side where the spools go through and can blow the seals around the spool. So okay, we didn't do that. So we ended up going and finding a valve. My brother was actually at a, I don't know where he was, some sort of farm store or something, and they had this valve, 3-spool valve, for like $50. They'd had it for a long time, and they just wanted to get rid of it. So he bought that valve. The only thing bad about that valve is you can only use one function at a time. We're gonna fix that. That's kind of annoying. You can't raise the boom and raise the bucket at the same time. It's easy to get used to, but it's still not correct and not the way it's gonna stay. We will fix it. So anyway, we went through, hooked that valve up, put all new hoses under the machine where it needed, got all that lined out, and then I'm a machinist. I got a lathe and mill and stuff like that. So I made this part here, and that is our auxiliary control, and it's a detent. It stays in place whenever you lock it in, and that's because of how the backhoe attachment needs. It was simple, just some stuff I turned out on a lathe, did a little milling too, and it clamps on. How I made that is kind of a thing in itself. It took me like 5 hours to make that. Just I get a bit carried away sometimes. Everything else hooked back up pretty good. We had to spread those out a little bit. That one there probably needs to be rebuilt. But anyway, so we come up through here. Ended up breaking a bolt off in it. No big deal, it's still held on. But like I said, it works good. It was simple. Does its job. So there's a few more things I need to do to the machine. The first thing I did was put lights on it, paint it, clean it up. Anyway, it's a great machine. I ended up having to put a tire on it. That was like $160 or something at the local tire shop. With a hell of a gash in it. Anyway, that's about all I've had to do to the machine. Like I said, we had an oil filter base go bad. These originally have a weird oil filter base that has a reusable filter, or it's actually a filter element. So I bought the spin-on conversion for it. That actually helped the oil pressure a little bit. It runs at like 3 to 5 pounds when it's hot and idling. When it's hot and revved up, it might be 5 to 7, but it never makes any noises, never does anything crazy. Again, if it blows up, I got an engine in the shed out there. Other than that, I really haven't done much to the machine, and it's worked for about a year now, like a year and a half maybe. Things I want to do to the attachment, the backhoe attachment. The feet, there's no tread on the bottom of the feet, so I'm gonna put an X bar or whatever, some sort of tread on the bottom of the feet to the outrigger feet to keep them sliding around. Because there's sometimes when I was digging that hole for that horse, we actually had to brake. I had to put blocks in front of the wheels, center block in front of the tires, to keep them from pulling on the machine, even though you had all the weight on the outriggers. The park brake on that ain't the best. It does work, but it ain't the greatest. Probably need to work on that too. So, anyway, that's basically the gist of it. Again, I've got a smaller bucket. I'd love to have quick detach on the bucket. Maybe something I do later on, but I am going to set my other smaller bucket up I think this one's like 16 inches wide or 18 inches wide. I'm going to set it up to where it's as narrow as basically these arms here, or the pins. So it'll be like an 11-inch bucket, I think, because it doesn't really need that big a bucket on it for doing what we're doing. Brother owns a trailer park, so he has to put in water lines, change water lines, fix leaks, fix sewer lines, stuff like that. Doing all his upgrades and maintenance and stuff. So anyway, that's the back side of that pin I made. Again, this machine's been used and abused. As you can see, the lock that locks the swivel from moving is busted out. Need to fix it. Again, this hydraulic cylinder needs to be resealed. That's one of my plans for maybe next week. That cylinder has been repaired a few times, but it seems to be working fine. Whenever we got this thing running, because it was sitting for so long, I actually sanded, emery clothed all the cylinders, hoping to keep any burrs or, rust pitting or anything like that from damaging the seal, but apparently there was something else that got in there. But again, it sat for, I bet this machine hadn't been used in 15 years. The lady I bought it from, it was her dad's, and he had died a couple years prior, so it probably hadn't been used in 15 years. So anyway, I'm rambling. Just figured I'd give a video, wish everybody happy Thanksgiving, and let you know that, about how I set it up and cost. I think we have, I gave $300 for it, $150 for those outriggers. These things are like 25 or 30 bucks a piece for the links, and then we probably have another 400 in hoses and fittings. That right there is what adds up. Hoses and fittings, that will add up. Selector valve I think was $100. This valve I think was $130. It was actually supposed to go on my tractor. I got an 8-in with a loader on it. The loader's slow and the valve needs replaced, but anyway, I got it on this because I needed it more. So I would say there's probably 1,500 bucks in this. So kind of keep that in mind if you're looking to do this. There's going to be cost, as this is the way with everything that we as money pinchers do. There's always hidden costs. I could have probably went out and bought an operating machine for 1,500 bucks. I know I've seen them for 15 to 3,000, sometimes more, but it is what it is. I had it on hand. Like I said, I bought it like 8 years ago just on a whim. I seen it on Marketplace for 300 bucks. I went and got it. So that wasn't a big deal there. This crossbar tube, I think I had 50 bucks because I bought a full or a half stick of it. It was old material, wasn't out of a new metal shop. So anyway, we have a seat that is going to probably pin look into that hole. Is the plan. It'll just slide down in and you'll sit on it. It's an old tractor seat, so no big deal there. So anyway, that's the machine. Any other questions? I'm going to post this on the Facebook page, and I'll probably throw it up on my YouTube and shoot a link over to that. But like I said, good machine. This is doing its job. I don't have any complaints. There's some stuff I'm going to do. That's the way we all are. We want to make changes and stuff. So anyway, guys, have a good Thanksgiving. Try to make another video. I got work to do.